Every Christmas, my brother dumped his kids on me until my no changed everything. Hi, I'm Brianna. For the past 5 years, Christmas has been less about joy and more about babysitting my nephew and niece, while my brother Derek vanishes for his annual business retreat. Last December was the final straw. Brianna, you're a lifesaver, Derek said, dropping oversized duffel bags in my apartment doorway. 10-year-old Sophie and 7-year-old Cameron stood silently behind him, eyes downcast, shoulders slumped like children who'd learned not to expect much. You said you'd be back Christmas Eve this time, I replied, crossing my arms. The kids deserve to wake up in their own home on Christmas morning. Derek checked his tag hire, the one he bought after his promotion, the same promotion he used to justify working through every family event for the past 3 years. The Westbridge account is massive, Bree. Career-defining. This could make me partner. Uncle Lawrence mentioned seeing you at the Aspen Lodge last Christmas, I said quietly, with someone who wasn't Sophie and Cameron. Derek's smile faltered for a millisecond before returning smooth as ever. Lawrence is confused, probably had too many whiskey sour. You know how he gets after a few drinks? Sophie tugged her rolling suitcase inside, the wheels squeaking against my hardwood floor. We brought our own presents this year, Aunt Brianna. Dad said we shouldn't expect you to buy us stuff. Smart girl, I said, helping Cameron with his superhero backpack. How long this time, Derek? Back on the 26th. Promise. He was already backing toward the elevator, car keys jingling in his hand. Kids, behave for Aunt Brianna. Mind your manners. Daddy, you promised we'd make gingerbread houses together, Cameron called out, his voice cracking slightly. You said we'd decorate them with M&Ms and everything. Next year, buddy. I swear. The elevator doors closed on Derek's waving hand, and I watched the numbers descend. 54321, carrying him away from his responsibilities once again. My neighbor Gloria poked her head out of her apartment, her silver reading glasses perched on her nose. Another Christmas with the little ones. Every year like clockwork, I sighed, ushering the kids inside. That man. She shook her head, her pearl earrings swaying. My Robert would never. Have you talked to your mother about this situation? Mom thinks Derek walks on water, career-focused, providing for his family. I guided the children inside my apartment, their small frames seeming even smaller in the doorway. She doesn't know he dumps them here every Christmas while he goes skiing with his girlfriend. Skiing with his girlfriend, Sophie finished, her voice small but matter-of-fact, like she was reciting the weather forecast. Gloria and I exchanged glances, shock registering on both our faces. Sophie, sweetie, what did you say? I knelt to her level, my knees pressing against the cold tile of my entryway. I found pictures on his phone last week. He told me not to tell anyone or Santa wouldn't come. That Santa has a special list for kids who can't keep secrets. She twisted a strand of brown hair around her finger, a nervous habit she'd developed after the divorce 2 years ago. How about hot cocoa? Gloria suggested quickly, her voice overly bright. I've got those mini marshmallows you kids like, the colored ones shaped like snowmen. Later that night, after tucking the kids into my spare bedroom, Sophie clutching her worn, stuffed penguin, Cameron hugging his Captain America pillow. I called my best friend, Vanessa. The city lights twinkled outside my window, but they felt cold and distant. He's doing it again. Vanessa's voice crackled through the speaker, mixing with the sound of her dishwasher running in the background. Every single Christmas van, and now the kids know he's lying. I'm furious. It's not just about my plans anymore. I had to cancel that trip to Charleston. Remember? The kids are old enough to understand they're being abandoned during the holidays. What does Amanda say? She asked, referring to Derek's ex-wife. She's spending Christmas with her new husband's family in London. Derek convinced her he was planning this big father-children bonding Christmas. Hot cocoa by the fireplace, sledding, the whole Hallmark movie fantasy. So she doesn't know either. Oh, Bree, this is beyond selfish. Vanessa paused, and I heard her moving to a quieter room. This is calculated manipulation. I watched the Christmas tree lights blink in the darkness, each flash seeming to mark another broken promise. Sophie mentioned a girlfriend named Tiffany. I think he's at some resort with her right now, while everyone believes he's working on the Westbridge account. Have you considered just saying no next time? Like actually refusing and seeing what he does? That's what he's counting on. That I care too much about them to refuse? What am I supposed to do? Leave them stranded at his empty house? Vanessa was quiet for a moment, the kind of thoughtful silence that meant she was choosing her words carefully. You know, my cousin works for family services in the Bronx. This might qualify as neglect if he's regularly dumping his kids without proper arrangements. I don't want to cause trouble, but I paused, hearing a small sniffle from the hallway. Sophie, is that you? Sophie stood in her purple pajamas, clutching her worn, stuffed penguin, the one she'd named Mr. Flippers when she was 4. Dad promised this was the last time. He said next Christmas would be different, that he'd take us to see the Rockettes and everything. Come here, sweetie, I said, making room on the couch and pulling the throw blanket over both of us. He always says that, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the heater. But then he leaves again every single time. As I held my niece while she cried, her small body shaking with sobs that seemed too big for a 10-year-old, something inside me hardened. Derek wasn't just inconveniencing me anymore. He was breaking his children's hearts year after year, teaching them that promises meant nothing and that they weren't worth keeping. Van, I said into the phone, my voice steady with new resolve. I need to know more about those family services, everything you can tell me. The following morning, I called Uncle Lawrence while the kids were watching Home Alone in the living room. Cameron laughing at the paint can scene for probably the 100th time. Lawrence, it's Brianna. I need the truth about seeing Derek last Christmas, all of it. Uncle Lawrence cleared his throat uncomfortably, the sound of a man who'd been caught in a lie. Listen, Bri, I didn't want to cause problems in the family. You know how your mother gets. The problems already exist. I need facts, not family politics. There was a long pause. I could hear traffic in the background. He was probably in his BMW heading to one of his investment properties. I saw him at Telluride Resort with a woman, blonde, maybe 30, wearing designer ski gear. They seemed intimate, very intimate. Did you confront him? He claimed it was a work colleague from the Westbridge account. But Bree, they were sharing a suite. I saw them at breakfast together, feeding each other French toast. I'm not an idiot. I gripped the phone tighter, my knuckles going white. And you didn't think to mention this to Amanda or me or Mom? Derek swore it was a one-time thing. Said he was under stress from the divorce, that he'd made a mistake. Begged me not to tell anyone because it would destroy his custody arrangement. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. I should have said something, especially when I heard he left the kids with you again this year. I'm sorry, Brianna. I failed those kids. After hanging up, I called Amanda in London, my hands trembling slightly as I dialed. Brianna, is everything okay with the kids? Her voice was immediately concerned. That maternal instinct that never goes away, even after divorce. They're fine, but there's something you should know. Derek isn't on a business trip. He's never on business trips during Christmas. Silence stretched between us, broken only by the sound of Big Ben chiming in the background on her end. What are you talking about? He's been dumping Sophie and Cameron with me every Christmas for 5 years while he goes on vacations with girlfriends, multiple girlfriends apparently. That's not... She started, then stopped, her voice catching. Wait, 5 years? Even when we were still married, when I thought he was working late at the office? Yes, the string of words that followed wasn't suitable for the season of goodwill, but it was completely justified. I'm coming back, Amanda declared, her voice still. This is unacceptable. I've been arranging my holidays around his supposed special Christmas plans with the kids. I turned down my husband's family trip to Paris 2 years ago because Derek said he wanted extra time with them. There's more, I said, watching Sophie and Cameron laugh at the movie, unaware that their world was about to shift. Sophie found photos on his phone. He told her not to tell anyone or Santa wouldn't come. He weaponized Santa Claus. Amanda, he used Santa to manipulate our daughter into hiding his affair. Amanda's voice shook with rage. The kind of anger that comes from betrayal layered upon betrayal. I'm calling my lawyer tonight and I'm calling your mother. She needs to know what her golden boy has been doing. Later that day, Gloria invited us over for Christmas cookies, her apartment smelling like cinnamon and vanilla. So what are you planning to do? She asked while the kids decorated gingerbread men in her kitchen, using frosting tubes and silver sprinkles with intense concentration. I'm gathering information. Derek's been lying to everyone. Me, his ex-wife, his kids, our parents, using his children as a smoke OKC screen while he vacations with girlfriends like they're accessories to make him look responsible. Gloria handed me a mug of spiced apple cider, her eyes sympathetic. My sister went through something similar with her ex in Connecticut. The courts take holiday visitation very seriously, especially when there's a pattern of abandonment. I don't want to use the kids as pawns, I admitted, the warmth from the mug seeping into my cold hands. Honey, you're not. He is. Gloria's normally cheerful face was serious, her mouth set in a firm line. Documentation is your friend here. Start writing everything down. Dates, conversations, witnesses. Build your case. My phone buzzed with the text from Vanessa. My cousin Patricia can meet tomorrow. Family law specialist. She's excellent. I showed Gloria the message. Go, she urged, already moving toward the kitchen. I'll watch the kiddos make gingerbread houses. We'll do the roof shingles with Necco wafers. The next day, while Gloria entertained Sophie and Cameron with Christmas crafts, making paper snowflakes and stringing popcorn garlands, I met Patricia at a quiet cafe in Greenwich Village, the kind with exposed brick and soft jazz playing. This pattern of behavior is concerning, Patricia said after I'd explained everything, her pen moving rapidly across her legal pad. Especially using the children as a cover story for personal activities and threatening them to maintain secrecy. That's psychological manipulation. What can I do? He's their father. The courts favor fathers more now, don't they? Patricia tapped her pen against her notepad, her expression thoughtful. Courts generally prefer to maintain parental relationships, but they prioritize the children's well-being above all else. We need documentation of the pattern, texts, emails, witness statements. I have texts asking me to take the kids, photos they've sent me from previous Christmases when they were supposedly with him. Sophie sent me a selfie from my guest room last year with the caption, "Another Christmas at Aunt Bree's." Good start. And now you have statements from your uncle confirming his whereabouts, plus the ex-wife's testimony that she was unaware of the arrangement. That's conspiracy to deceive for the purpose of avoiding parental responsibilities. Is it enough for an emergency custody modification? Possibly, especially if the children corroborate feeling abandoned or being sworn to secrecy. But first... Patricia leaned forward, her voice dropping. You need to confront him directly when he returns. Record the conversation if your state allows it. New York is a one-party consent state. Give him a chance to explain, or, more likely, to incriminate himself further. I laughed bitterly, the sound harsh in the quiet cafe. He'll just lie again. He's had 5 years of practice. Documentation, Brianna, everything by the book. When is he returning? December 26th, supposedly, though his track record suggests it'll be later. Patricia handed me her card, her fingers cool against mine. Call me after you speak with him. And remember, stay calm, stick to facts, and focus on the children's welfare, not your inconvenience. Judges respond to child welfare concerns, not sibling disputes. I nodded, a plan forming in my mind like frost crystallizing on a window. Trust me, this is about much more than my convenience now. This is about 2 kids who deserve better. Derek didn't return on the 26th or the 27th. Finally, on December 28th, he called, and I could hear resort sounds in the background, clinking glasses, laughter, music. Slight change of plans, Bree. Flight was overbooked. I'll be there tomorrow afternoon. I kept my voice neutral, practicing the calm Patricia had advised. The kids miss you. I miss them too. Been working nonstop on this account. You're the best sister ever, you know that? When he finally arrived on the 29th, tanned, relaxed, wearing a new ski jacket, I was ready. My phone was positioned on the bookshelf, camera recording just as Patricia had instructed. Hey, superstar, he greeted me, arms wide for a hug. How are my little monsters? They behave themselves? Let's talk in private, I said, nodding toward my bedroom. The kids are watching a movie. Ooh, sounds serious. He chuckled, following me with the confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences. I closed the door behind us, my heart pounding. Where were you this Christmas, Derek? His smile remained fixed, practiced. I told you the Westbridge account. They needed me at the office for presentations. Stop lying. My voice was ice, each word deliberate. I know you were at Copper Mountain Resort. I know about Tiffany. I know this is the 5th Christmas you've abandoned your children for a vacation. His fistfud darkened, the charming mask slipping. Abandoned? That's a strong word for leaving them with family. They were safe. They were fed. They were fine. Sophie found pictures on your phone. You threatened her with Santa not coming if she told anyone. You manipulated your 10-year-old daughter into keeping your secrets. Something ugly flickered in his expression, anger mixed with fear of being caught. You're making a big deal over nothing. Kids are resilient. They bounce back. Amanda knows everything now. So does Mom. So does Uncle Lawrence. Everyone knows you've been lying. Derek's casual demeanor vanished like smoke. You had no right to involve them. This is between us. No, I said, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay calm. You had no right to use me as free childcare while you vacationed with your girlfriend. You had no right to lie to your children year after year. You had no right to threaten Sophie into keeping your secrets. You stole Christmas from them 5 years in a row. It was a harmless white lie. Every parent uses Santa. It's part of the magic. This isn't about Santa, I snapped, all pretense of calm gone. It's about you systematically lying to everyone who cares about you, manipulating your children and breaking their hearts every Christmas so you can play bachelor. Derek's voice turned pleading, switching tactics like he did in his sales presentations. Bree, come on. I work hard all year. Don't I deserve some time off, some happiness? Not at your children's expense. I'll make it up to them. Next year will be different, I promise. We'll go to Disney World, the whole deal. I laughed bitterly. You say that every single year. Sophie remembers each broken promise even if you don't. What do you want from me? He demanded, his face reddening. An apology? Some accountability? Fine, I'm sorry. Are you happy now? I want you to be a father to your children. I want you to stop lying. I want you to stop using me. Using you? His voice went sharp. I pay for everything they need. Their clothes, their school, their... Except your presence, I interrupted. The one thing they actually want. Derek's voice lowered dangerously. You've always been jealous, perfect Brianna, everyone's favorite. You love playing martyr with my kids because you can't get your own life together. This conversation is over, I said, reaching for the door handle. He grabbed my wrist, his fingers digging into my skin. You think you can turn my family against me? My own kids? Let go of me, Derek. You've never liked Tiffany. You've been trying to sabotage us from the beginning. I've never even met her. I wrenched my arm free, stumbling backward. This is about your children, not your girlfriend. The bedroom door opened. Sophie stood there, eyes wide. Cameron peeking around her shoulder. Sophie, go back to the living room, Derek said quickly, his voice switching to fake cheerfulness. Is it true? Sophie asked quietly, her voice trembling. You didn't have to work. You were with Tiffany again. You chose her over us. Derek knelt down, reaching for her. Sweetheart, grown-up relationships are complicated sometimes. You promised this Christmas would be different, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. You promised we'd be together, that we'd make snow angels and drink hot chocolate and watch Christmas movies. You promised we will be together next year. I swear. You always say that. Sophie's voice rose to a shout. You always say next year. I hate you. I hate you. She ran from the room, her footsteps thundering down the hallway. Derek moved to follow, but I blocked his path. You've done enough damage for one day. This is your fault, he hissed, his face inches from mine. You turned my daughter against me. You poisoned her mind. You did that all by yourself. His face contorted with rage. You think you're so perfect? Little Miss Fix Everything, I'll show you what happens when you mess with my family. He shoved past me, knocking me into the doorframe hard enough that pain shot through my shoulder. In the living room, Cameron was crying while Gloria tried to comfort Sophie, who was sobbing into her hands. Derek grabbed his son's arm roughly. We're leaving now. Get your stuff. Derek, stop, I said, following him, my shoulder throbbing. You're upset. Don't take it out on the kids. They're my kids, he shouted, spittle flying. Not yours. You don't get to play mommy just because you couldn't keep a man long enough to have your own. The room fell silent except for Cameron's sniffles. Get out, I said quietly, each word like a stone dropping into still water. Gladly, kids, get your stuff. We're going home. Sophie backed away from him, pressing herself against Gloria. I don't want to go with you. Sophie, now! Derek's voice was thunder. "You're hurting me," Cameron whimpered, trying to pull his arm free from Derek's grip. Something in me snapped. I pulled out my phone. "Let him go or I'm calling the police." Derek released Cameron, who ran to Gloria like his life depended on it. "You wouldn't dare. Try me." We stood there at an impasse until Derek's phone rang. It was Amanda, her name flashing on his screen. His face palled as he answered. "Amanda, I can explain. Just let me—" Whatever she said made him go silent, his jaw clenching. After a long moment, he hung up, glaring at me with pure hatred. "Congratulations. You've ruined everything. My relationship, my family, everything." He stormed toward the door, pointing at the children with a shaking finger. "This isn't over. I'll be back for them tomorrow when everyone's calmed down and stopped being hysterical." The door slammed behind him, rattling the pictures on my wall. I was shaking as I dialed Patricia's number. "It's Brianna. We need that emergency custody modification now." The next morning, Patricia met us at the courthouse for an emergency hearing, her briefcase packed with documentation. "Focus on the pattern of abandonment," she whispered as we entered the building, our footsteps echoing on marble floors. "This is about the children's welfare, not your brother's social life." Amanda had flown back overnight and joined us, exhaustion evident on her face, but determination burning in her eyes. "I can't believe I believed his lies for so long," she said, her voice raw. 5 years, 5 Christmases. Inside the courtroom, Derek glared at me while the judge reviewed our documents. His lawyer, a slickle-looking man in an expensive suit, whispered urgently in his ear. "Miss Collins, explain why this requires emergency intervention," Judge Hernandez said, peering at us over her reading glasses. Patricia stood, her voice clear and professional. "Your Honor, we've documented a 5-year pattern of Mr. Thompson abandoning his children during Christmas, lying about business trips while vacationing with romantic companions, and recently becoming physically aggressive when confronted. We have photographic evidence, witness testimony, and statements from both children." Derek's attorney countered, standing with practiced ease. "This is simply a family disagreement blown out of proportion. Mr. Thompson has every right to arrange childcare with relatives. His sister agreed to watch the children each year." "Arranging childcare is one thing," the judge replied, her tone sharp. "Fabricating business trips to abandon court-ordered visitation is another matter entirely." Uncle Lawrence testified about seeing Derek at ski resorts, his voice steady despite Derek's glare. I presented the text messages, the photos, everything we'd gathered. Sophie spoke privately with the judge in her chambers for 20 minutes. When Judge Hernandez returned, her expression had darkened considerably. "I find Mr. Thompson's behavior constitutes a pattern of abandonment and emotional manipulation. The court grants temporary custody to Miss Amanda Thompson with supervised visitation for Mr. Thompson, pending a full hearing in 30 days. "This is ridiculous. They're my children," Derek shouted, jumping to his feet. "Control yourself or I'll hold you in contempt," the judge warned. "One more outburst and you'll spend the night in a cell." In the hallway afterward, Derek confronted me, his finger jabbing toward my face. "This is all your fault. You've always been jealous of my happiness. You destroyed my life because you're miserable." Amanda stepped between us, her voice cold as January ice. "The only person to blame is yourself, Derek. You did this." "Amanda, please." His voice turned pleading, reaching for her. "I made a mistake. Everyone deserves a second chance." "This wasn't your second chance," she replied coldly, not even flinching from his touch. "It was your 6th. You won't get a 7th. 3 months later, I celebrated the final custody ruling with my friends at our favorite bistro in the West Village. The winter sun streamed through the windows, warm and bright. Rachel got primary custody with Derek having supervised visits twice a month, I explained, sipping my wine. "Which he's already missed 3 times. Apparently Tiffany broke up with him when she found out about the custody battle." "And how are you holding up?" Vanessa asked, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "He's still your brother." "Honestly, I'm relieved. I thought I was helping the kids all these years, but I was actually enabling his neglect. Sometimes love means saying no." My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. "Mom's birthday dinner Saturday. She wants you there. Time to put this behind us. Family is family. What will you say?" Gloria asked, watching me carefully. I typed one word. "No, just that." Simple. Final. Next Christmas, I said, setting down my phone with a smile. I'm taking the kids to Disney World with Amanda and her husband. We're starting new traditions, real ones. And Derek? Vanessa asked. He made his choice. I've made mine. Sometimes the most powerful thing isn't about making someone suffer. It's about finally saying no and meaning it. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves. It's about breaking the cycle before it breaks the children. Have you ever had to say no to a family member who took advantage of your kindness? How did you find the strength to stand your ground? Sometimes we all need to be reminded that boundaries aren't just necessary. They're acts of self-respect and